Okay, we're continuing with question 105. They're asking for the area of this triangle, which is base times height divided by 2. So we need the area, but we also need the Pythagorean theorem. So this is the hypotenuse always across from the right angle. So we're going to have from the formula that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So I have 15 squared equals more like a 15 would be better. An actual 15 equals 12 squared plus b squared. So we need to find b, the base. All right, so 15 squared, we have to multiply it by hand because we don't have a calculator. It's also good if you remember the squares up to 15. 15 times 15. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry 2. 5 times 1 is 5 and 2 is 7. 0 for my space holder on the second line, and 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Now adding 5, 2, 1 over 2. So 225 equals 144 plus b squared. To solve for b, I need to, excuse me, subtract 144 to leave the b by itself. Subtracting 5 minus 4 is 1. It's going to stay as a 1. 12 minus 4 is 8. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is going to, b squared is equal to 81. We don't have a way to calculate. All I know that this is b times b. So I need a number that is the same b, that when I multiply it, I get 81. So 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7, that's too low. 10 times 10 is 100, that's too much. So 9 times 9 is 81. So b is 9. So my base here is 9. Now going back to the base, times the height divided by 2. So 9 times 12. 9 times 12 divided by 2. To simplify things, let me put the 1/2 like this, right? 1/2 times 9 times 12, so that I can cancel the 12. We can do that when we're only multiplying on top. There's no plus or minus, it's a times. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I get 1 times 9 is 9. I get 9 times 6 over 1, which is 9 times 6. We have to know this. 9 times 6 is 54. Units squared, centimeters in this case. So my answer is gonna be 54. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to erase and scroll. Planet X has twice as much oxygen in its atmosphere as planet Y. So we can say that X, where is my pen? There it is. X is to Y, these are ratios. And so let me actually move this other way. Let me do it where I have space. So I'm going to say planet X to planet Y is 2 to 1. All right. And then planet Y has a third as much oxygen as planet X. So if Y was 1, 1/3 means that Z triples. So if Y was 1, Z is 3. And you can see that if we were writing the ratio as a fraction, we would write Y over Z as 1 over 3. So that's your third. Okay, but the question is, the ratio of planet X to planet Z. So X to Z is 2 to 3. So 2 to 3. Choice B. All right. Now the formulas don't show me, so I'm going to close the formulas because they don't show me anything about the circle except that the circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. All right, I'm going to close that though. Finally. So I know that the formula has something to do with this thing, meaning, okay, now I need my pen again. I keep losing it. I keep dropping it. So it means that x minus k squared plus y, you don't need to worry about this, is equal to the radius squared. Okay, so I have my x, my plus sign, my y, my parentheses squared. So 36 is the same as r squared. So I'm going to write it here. R squared is equal to 36. To solve for r, I need to take the square root of r squared to cancel the exponent. And so I need the square root of 36. So that cancels that, and r is equal to 6. Because remember, r squared is 26, meaning that the letter or the number, the placeholder for r times itself equals 36. What number times itself equals 36? 5 times 5 is 25, so it must be 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So my radius is 6, and the circumference formula was 2 times pi times the radius, but my radius is 6. So 2 times pi times 6. I'm going to, because this is all times, I can move things around. So it's going to say 2 times 6 times pi. 2 times 6 is 12. Times pi, we can just write 12 pi, like the way we write 3n or 5x. All right, so I have a 12 pi for circumference, C for circumference, coincidence. Don't always choose C, obviously, do the math. and it's 12. Okay, I'm going to erase. If you need to pause it now because I'm clearing as fast as I can. I'm going to scroll down, and the sphere has a surface area. Okay, so 108, sorry, 108 goes to the list of questions. I'm moving to the end. And remember, you need about half the questions to pass this test, maybe less even. So I know that you can pass it easy, easy, if you study. All right, perpendicular lines are lines that make right angles. So like the floor, right? Like the coordinate plane, X and Y, right? They're perpendicular to each other because they're forming 90-degree angles. That's perpendicularity. All right, so a slope that is undefined is when we have a line that's not a function, such as, let's see, that's 1 for X, 2 for X. If I put a line like this, what is the equation for this line? X, 2. So X equals 2. To make a perpendicular line, I'm going to need to make right angles like this, because I need a horizontal line, because that's my right angle right there. Okay. So what would be the equation for this? This is the y-axis. So y, that point is in y. So y equals, what number could this be? It could be any y equals negative y. So y equals negative something or positive something. It's not y equals x, because that's a line that y equals x is a line that is exactly what we would call a diagonal. Y equals x looks like this. Like cutting, right? Because when x is 2, then y is 2. So that's xy. All right. So that's not the line that we need. We need this line, which is not x equals, because x equals is going to be vertical line. It's not x equals. So it has to be y equals 5, which I happen to coincidentally, or maybe I looked at the question so many times before, I happen to put it on top of the x-axis, so it's positive. Y equals a positive 5. It could be negative too, because I could have written the line like right here, and that's y equals a negative number right here, because it will pass y through that point. All right. Let me see if I can just scroll down a little bit. Maybe I need to erase these lines. Okay. The grid of a board game is shown below. In the game, players compete to win as many squares possible out of the 24 square total. No player can share more than one adjacent side of a square with a competitor. There are 2 players, player A and player B, and the shaded squares represent the squares for player A. So we're gonna mark this as A, this is 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 A. So it says, the most important thing here is that it says that no player can share more than one adjacent side. What's an adjacent side? meaning touching. So if I have a square here, right? And then I have a gray square there. This is the one side that's adjacent, meaning side by side next to each other. If I were to have another player A square, then that would be 1, 2, and if I have another one right there, I would have 3 adjacent sides. I can only have 1 or 0. Okay, so right here I have 1 adjacent side. Okay, but this one you see has 2 adjacent sides that are gray. This one has 1, 2, 3, so I cannot count this square. I cannot count that square. Let me see. Here again. So I cannot count that square. Look, here is 1 adjacent side on the white, over here on this square I'm marking. It has 1 adjacent gray side and 1 adjacent, meaning neighboring the gray square on top and the gray square on the bottom, if you will. Is there any other one? Yes, you have to be really careful with this because it's easy. When you have 12 and 13, I bet you that's gonna be what we're gonna be looking at. Anything else? Okay, let me see. This one is a no, right? Those are my 2 sides. That one is a no. The other ones are A's. So which ones could be B's? This one has 1 orange line, so that's good. This one has no orange lines at all. This is okay. This is okay. I'm still gonna make sure that there's only 1 gray side at most. Maybe no gray side is good. This one has this 1 gray side, but nothing else. So this can be claimed by B. This doesn't have anything. This has 1 right here. So that's B. We couldn't do that. There's only 1 adjacent side that is shaded for that B. And over here for this one, we have 1 adjacent side, so I can claim it for B. These 2 are clear. So that's like the vitamin complex B, B1, right? B2. You see how easy this is? We're just counting. Can you count to 12? Let me double check because it's easy to make a mistake, not C. Vitamin B12, the whole complex of vitamin Bs, which is good for your brain, by the way. B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let me make sure I mark the X's have 2 adjacent sides. Let me do that again. This one, no, because it has 1, 2. 1, 2 eliminates that. 1, 2, 3 eliminates that. 1, 2 eliminates that. And then 1, 2 eliminates that. I don't think I can eliminate anything else as this has 1. Adjacent side is either 1 or 0. This one has 1. This one has 0. This one has 0. This one has 0, 0, 1, right? This one right here. That's my 1. Still okay. 0, 1 right here. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. This one has 1 right here. That one has 1, 2. No can do. And this one has zeros. Let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 10, yes, 11, 12. So 12 is the answer. Let me take away the 13. There's probably a choice D, but we counted 12 and we did it. I overdid it, but it's better to get one question right than to miss the whole thing by only one question, right? So we have time. All right, continuing. Actually, I don't have a whole lot of time. So let's move on. I'm erasing everything. Pause if you need to. Scrolling down. Okay, I'm gonna try to answer these three questions since we have here and we can advance. Right. So the stopping, sorry, distance of a car is S. S is equal to the velocity to the second power, exponential quadratic, divided by A, divided by acceleration, which is also exponential, by the way. The gravity is exponential. Like the taller somebody drops something from a very tall building, the faster is going to hit the floor, the taller the building is. It just keeps gaining speed. That's what acceleration is. Speed that is increasing. Anyway, so we can see that increasing linearly doesn't make sense. Decreasing doesn't make sense. The only thing is increases quadratically, and because v to the second power is a quadratic, when s increases, the stopping distance is actually the other way. As velocity increases, that means that the stopping time will also increase. You need more time the faster you go. Think about it that way. If you're going really fast, you cannot stop right on, you're not gonna stop on 2 feet. You're gonna need yards. All right. All right. So I'm gonna erase in case you need to do something about it. All right. Now we have x to the negative 5, y5, z3 divided by y5, and z to the negative 1. Okay. First of all, let's cancel that. That cancels into a 1, so we don't need it. So we are left with x to the negative 5, z cubed, and z to the negative 1. But we don't have any answers with negative exponents. Remember that when you want to make the exponent positive, what you need to do is, like what it says here, if somebody's unhappy, some baby crying is unhappy on the top bunker, you send this guy to the bottom bunker, and now it's no longer negative. Negative added to cry baby is now positive. So you flip and change. The same thing with the C is gonna go up as C to the positive 1. So you see what's happening? You send the negative, baby crying, doesn't want the bottom bunker, goes to the top, positive, happy. All right, no more tantrums. Which some of you still want to do, but choking. All right, so what we have then is Z3, Z1 over X5. Z3, Z1 means we can combine the Z's and add 3 plus 1. Sorry about the big exponent, shouldn't do that. Z to the 4, X to the 5. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this into regular, it's a quesadilla, right? And then we're gonna cut them even further. All right, so now we have 12 of these triangles. Why am I doing that? Because let's take this one. This guy has a hypotenuse of 2. Let me show the formula. So you can see that there's a triangle such as this, where the ratios are, sorry, not that one, the one on top. That one. The ratio is 1 to 1.7 to 2. We know the longest side has to be the hypotenuse, and it is 2. That means that the shortest side is 1. And the height has to be 1.7, which is about what the square root of 3 is. So once we have that, we know, let me hide that. Let me hide that. All right. So what would be the area of this triangle? It would be, actually, let me erase everything. No, let me not. The area of this triangle would be base times height. So 1 times the square root of 3 divided by 2. But we don't have one of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we need to multiply this times 12. So 12 times 1 is 12 times the square root of 3 divided by 2. We simply need to divide 12 into 2. 2 fits into 12 6 times. So 6 radical 3 is the area. That better be a choice. Now that I did that, I didn't see the choices. So let me see. 6 radical 3. Aha, my first one. Okay, so A is your answer. But you need to use those formulas. All right. I'm going to erase, so think about it. You can pause and you can think while I try to move fast. The perimeter of an isosceles right triangle that has 2 legs that measure 5. That's not too difficult, in fact. So let me write an isosceles right triangle. So right triangle with 2 sides that are the same. The legs is not the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is across the right angle. So this is 5, A is 5, B is 5, and this we're looking for C. Perimeter means A plus B plus C. A equals 5, B equals the base equals 5. So perimeter is A plus B plus C. So that's going to be 5 plus 5 plus C. So we need 10 plus C. But if C is 2.5, it could be that. If C is 5, it could be that. So I don't think it's going to be D. But let's find out what C is. Again, C squared is equal to 5 squared plus 5 squared. So C squared is equal to 25 plus 25, which is 50. C squared is equal to 50. Take the square root, and C itself is equal, C squared is 50. C is equal to the square root of 50, which is 25 times 2. 25 times 2 is the same as 50. The square root of 25 is 5. So C is equal to 5 times the square root of 2, which we need to add right here. 5, sorry, right here. We already added 5 plus 5 is 10. Plus 5 times the square root of 2, which is the hypotenuse. I hope to have that as an answer. Of course, I had checked it before. So I look like I'm getting lucky. All right. 115. Well, we're about to finish things, so maybe I'll try to, I'm gonna erase or pause if you need to. How many integers? Remember, those are the whole numbers. Between 10 and 80 inclusive means that the 10 and the 80 counts. So let me try to do this. 10, 11, all the way to 80. That's a lot of integers. But we have some conditions. One of the integers digits is a solution to the equation something is equal to 0. So on the left side, we can factor out an x. They all have x in common. So if I divide everything, equals 0. If I divide all sides, everything I divide by x, let's see what happens. Isn't this fun? Like, we want to know what happens when we divide by x. What could that possibly mean? 0 divided by x is 0. So that's okay. That's why we can do this. Isn't that convenient? So x3, take away 1x, and you're going to get x2. Because 1x is cancels with one of the exponent x's. So the same thing here, that's x to the 1. And obviously, you know that this cancels and we get 11 is equal to 0. And because we divided by an x, we need to give it back here. So that means that either x is equal to 0 or x squared plus x plus 11 is equal to 0, but I don't know how to factor that. So it's not going to be an integer if we use the quadratic formula to solve for x. Okay, great. So I need that one of the digits, and we begin at 10, so we don't have to worry about 0, 9, 0, 8, because it begins at 10. Okay, so the only numbers are going to be 20, 10, 20, sorry, 10, 20, 30. That's a 10. 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. All right, so those are the only integers that include 10 and 80 and have a 0, right? But now the sum, meaning when we get the two digits and add, has to be greater than or equal to 4. So if we have 10, that's 1 plus 0. That's less than 4. So 10 is out. 2 plus 0 is out. 3 plus 0 is out. 40, though, is 4 plus 0, which is 4. And it says here greater than or equal to 4. So I got 41. Let me be careful with that. Don't want to repeat the 80. The 80 is right here. 40, yes, 50, 60, 70, and 80. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is your choice. Okay, so let me move on quickly. Looks like I'm losing my voice, but I want you to do well on your CLT-10. So, all right, so here we know that integer k is negative, and integer c is the square of a positive, so c is positive, less than 10, must be true. Maybe this is true. This cannot be, because we would have less than or equal to 0 means that we would have a negative number, and c is positive, so cannot be b. D maybe, and obviously here's what we have. We have k, let's put k at -1, right? Times c. C can be the square of a positive less than 10. Let's say that could be 1. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, and 3 times 3 is 9. All right, so when I multiply a negative, -1 being the one that can do the least damage, times a positive, I'm gonna come up with a -4, right? If I do -10, because it doesn't say, there's no limits for the negative k, times 4 or times 9 even, That's going to be equal to negative 90. Now, when we square that, as you can see, here the square is touching the parentheses, so everything goes. When I square the negative 4, that's going to turn into a positive 16, because unlike negative 4 over 2, that's we carry the negative and we square the 4 only. But when it is inside a parenthesis, we have to square everything inside the parenthesis, meaning negative 4 twice times negative 4, which is a positive 16. All right. And here we have the square root of c. So we have something like c squared. Let's say we have 3 squared is 9. Of course, that's always going to be greater than or equal to the square root of 9, which is 3. So 9 is greater than 3. And in the case of 1, if it was 1, 1 is going to be equal to 1. But it's always, in the case that we have a negative 1 times 1, which is positive 1 squared is 1, it could be equal to 1, so that counts. There's an exception here for the equal for the 1. So we're going to choose C. And don't worry if you didn't get all that, because I'm trying to not skip any more questions. All right. In fact, I'm going to erase and try to move in faster. You don't need more than 2 videos. All right, so hold on. Okay, well, these are all difficult questions. Let me see if this is not, if let me try to do 117 at least, if it's not too long. Otherwise, I'm going to pause this video and then just create a third video for the long questions. Not that they're difficult, but they will take long. So a right triangle has one angle that measures 60. That was back to the formula before. When you have a 30, 60, 90 right triangle, it's going to be like this. Where the ratios are, this is n, this is twice n, and this is n times the square root of 3. Or you can also have it as, if you just want to use 1, the hypotenuse is double the shortest side, and this is the square root of 3, which is about 1.7, approximately 1.7. All right, hypotenuse being the longer. So the hypotenuse measures 10, which is twice the base. The shortest side, so the shortest side has to be n times 2 is equal to 2n. So something times 2 is equal to 10. So this side has to be 5. The base, the shortest side has to be 5. And so that's it. At least I did 117. Now 118, 119, 120, 100 and 108 are going to have to be done. If you want to look at that video, again, you don't need to score a perfect score. So I think we've done well. If you study these 2 videos, you will more than easily pass the CLT-10. Thank you for your time. And if you want to see me on video 3, we will do some other time.